Hi, I'm an Australian guy living here in Belarus, and of course I have an umbrella because it's raining, but I still want to tell you two things that I've experienced here in Belarus that have changed me. They've fundamentally changed the way that I think and the way that I behave. The first way is how I perceive people and how I interact with people. So in case you hadn't noticed, if you're living in your cushy little city like I was in Melbourne, you're meeting people, and then over the years you meet people that you like and you hang out more with them, and they like you and you hang out more with them, and you become a bit more like them. They become a bit more like you. You share a hobby. Maybe one of you takes the other guy's hobby. You share different opinions, ideas, and you kind of become more like each other. So what happens in the end is that you end up with a clique of friends and you all kind of think in a very similar way. Now, of course, you have your own individual differences and your own individual characteristics, but broadly speaking, you're kind of similar. So all of a sudden out in the wild world, and I had a wider sample of people to deal with and a lot of people in a hurry, because when you're living in your own city, you kind of hang out with the same people all the time. You don't meet that many new people, certainly not in a meaningful way. Maybe in a superficial, hi, how are you, 5-minute conversation, but in terms of having lengthy conversations, getting to know people, you're kind of limited at a certain time in your life. So of course here in Belarus, I've met a lot of people, but it's not that simple. I've noticed that there's a real selection bias towards the kinds of people who are here in Belarus. I would say that I have met and engaged on a meaningful level with around 50 foreigners. I'm just going to talk about foreigners only, not Belarusian people. So talking about 50 foreigners, and they've kind of fallen into different archetypes. So I've probably had lunch with somebody, a beer, a coffee, whatever it is, and I've been able to talk with them long enough to get a sense of their character, their personality, their values, their social abilities, their IQ, and so forth. And I would say out of those 50 people, around 12 to maybe 15 of them have been very impressive guys. They've been smart, they've been thoughtful, they've been very successful in whatever they've done, hence they can afford to be here. And these people are kind of ready-made human beings, more or less. I have a few quirks like we all do, I'm certainly included in that, but they're pretty much ready-made from the packet kind of guys. You can just get along with them, you can see what they're about, and you can become friends with them fairly quickly. At the other end of the spectrum, there's guys who are pretty much on the spectrum. Like I would say I've met a dozen guys here who are foreigners who have zero social IQ. They're not able to read or understand anything. They can't read me, they can't read the conversation. They just talk, yak. There's no kind of engagement there, absolutely no social skills, and just have a lot of wacky ideas. They kind of want to rant at you. And this would be probably a dozen guys like this. And these are the kind of guys that they just have no friends. I mean, the reality of life is that you hang around people that you like. So these guys just have no friends in the world. Now, I sound like a real asshole here, I'm aware of this, but this is the reality, right? And these people exist around the world, but you just never meet them because they're just on their own all the time, because they just don't know how to engage, and they've been kind of socially isolated. Even if they live in a city such as yours, they're just kind of cut off from the world. But a lot of them end up here, and then you meet them and it's like, wow, I can't believe you survived for 30, 40, 50 years. Like I'm really shocked. So navigating these guys takes a bit of patience, right? You need to be polite and civil and give them social cues, which they can't take. So this is a bit of a challenge, right? Now, aside from these guys, there's a group in the middle of guys who are kind of more normal in a sense that they have some strengths, they have some weaknesses, like everybody. And these are the guys that you need to negotiate around with. You have to be patient. You have to chit-chat. You have to guide. They have to kind of be managed a little bit in the conversation. They might go off on their own little tangent, start ranting about the least interesting thing in the planet. So you kind of got to manage them a little bit in conversation. You need to manage them a little bit when it's a group, or maybe you have one normal person, one abnormal person. You kind of got to manage that abnormal person so don't ruin it for everybody else. Now, again, I know I'm sounding harsh, but you could imagine that a country as isolated as Belarus will attract certain archetypes. This is kind of obvious because it is so unusual. Why would you be here? So all in all, it has increased my social awareness. It's increased my ability to read people quickly, and it's increased my ability to navigate through those social situations with people who you just don't meet. Like you don't meet when you're in your own little cushy social networks in your home city. Second thing I've learned since being in Belarus is to be a bit more critical of my opinions where I have no first-hand evidence. So coming here to Belarus, I really had no idea what to expect. I thought it would be something like Russia. I was reading things on the internet telling me about shortages of doctors and this kind of stuff as well. So I had some basic ideas like this in my head, and pretty much every preconceived notion that I had was entirely inaccurate, like really, really off. Overall, they're probably more European, if I could say that, rather than how you would think of a Slavic person to be. If you tap into some old stereotypes, they're probably more European in character and the way that their society functions. For example, there is not 1 ounce of corruption here. Not 1 ounce. All of those ideas you might have from knowing people in Russia or in Ukraine, for example, where there's corruption is all the way through the societies. Here, it doesn't exist. It's so safe, it's so clean, it's so functioning. Let's look at the medical system, for example. I've been to several specialists since I've been here, and I read on the internet, you can Google this yourself, that there's a lot of shortages in terms of specialists. And maybe there are in some specialists, but I've been to 3 doctors who are not GPs, and I've been able to book in with them and have things done within 1 week. Yeah, the same week. I call them Monday, I go in, see them on Wednesday. They've been fast and professional. And to be honest, if you want to talk about shortages of medical staff, as I say, I've got in here straight away, and I've mainly paid the local price. On one place I didn't pay the local price, I very much paid the foreigner price. But in Australia, for the 3 equivalent types of doctors, specialists, I waited between 3 weeks and 3 months to be able to see them. So that kind of blew my mind a little bit. And a random example, this is really random, right? This other guy who I won't mention anything about, but he has lived in North Korea. Yeah, he's a Western guy, youngish guy, lived in North Korea. And he's like, man, this is like pretty good. Like, it was fine. It was just pretty similar to Belarus, actually. Like, everything functions well. When you compare the prices to the local people's incomes, they're okay. Not super high, but they're okay. Things are clean and functional. And, you know, the guy I know had a lot of fun in Pyongyang. And if I believed everything I heard in the West, I would believe that North Korea is the most horrible place in the world. And it might not be fantastic by Australian or even Belarusian standards, I don't know. But the impression that I was given was a very clear one, that North Korea is a horrible place. But now I'm much more open to the idea that it and other countries that are demonized by my own media and my own institutions that give me my information, that these places mightn't be so bad after all. Indeed, a buddy of mine who is Romanian, a Romanian national, although I haven't seen him for a couple of years, just told me he's going to Iran. And I'm like, that's interesting. He's like, there's cheap flights, man. I'm going to go check it out. I haven't been there before. And if he had said to me 3 years ago, I'm like, what are you doing? It's not safe. Now it's like, look, it's probably pretty cool. Like, tell me what happens, you know. As I've been filming this, I've been kind of assessing what I'm saying, right? I'm just kind of freeballing, and I'm assessing what I'm saying, and I've realized really all that's happened is that I've just stepped out of my little comfy Western bubble. On both of these 2 points, that's really all that's happened. I hope you enjoyed this video. As you realize, I am in the rain filming for you guys. If you enjoyed this video, please do give me a like. I really appreciate it. And then I understand what content that I should be making. Welcome to a little bit of B-roll action. I was going for a bit of a stroll, just up meeting up a buddy for dinner, so I'll give you a bit of a look at Minsk at dusk. It's Friday evening. Must be 6:30, maybe 7 on a late September evening. Of course, this is the Bitskaya, which is a famous area for bars, and it's kind of like a touristy kind of place. I wouldn't particularly recommend it, to be fair, but nonetheless, it's popular amongst tourists and maybe local girls trying to make some money or whatever. There's other places to go if you like the bar scene. The bar scene here in Minsk is not overly developed at this point. There's another area, Oktoberskaya, which maybe is a bit more for locals. As I say, bars aren't really a massive thing here. To be fair, probably more of a cafe culture, but even cafes here are still somewhat of a new thing. So yeah, getting to dusk here, it's a nice sunset there. Check that out. So walking up towards Nemiga, my buddy will be in a restaurant, so I'll just film until I get to the restaurant. Maybe 10 minutes of B-roll. Had some positive comments about the B-rolls. I've also can see from the data I get from YouTube that people watch them a lot. So I'm happy just to have a bit of a stroll, a bit of a chat. I'll chat for most of it, nothing in particular, whatever's on my mind. At the moment, not much. Given I've just done about 5 of these in a row, walking around, so don't want to repeat myself too much. Yeah, thinking about some dinner. It's that time of the evening. Yeah, it's funny how here in Minsk, how everything just goes quiet this time of year. This is the time of year I arrived, roughly, last year. But yeah, it definitely drops off quite a lot. People just kind of stay at home. Like usually if this was summer, you have a lot of people around, have a lot of people going up to the dacha. But this time of year onwards, everyone just starts to hibernate in Minsk. And of course this is not uncommon across countries with similar climates, but Belarus just does it better. They just really vanish. You would think that no one lives here 6 months of the year. Just wanted here, we're heading up to Nemiga here. Oh, electric scooter. What do you guys think about electric scooters? Too dangerous, too fun, too practical, too useful? Give me your opinion on this. I've had a couple of comments actually regarding electric scooters. I saw one the other day and I was speaking about how in parts of Australia, perhaps the whole country actually, but I just heard that at least Sydney, the biggest city by population, had just recently banned them. And yeah, it's a tricky one, isn't it? Because they're fun and they're practical and they're cool and whatever, but also they're freaking annoying. But in saying that, here in Belarus, or Minsk in particular, there's a lot of room for them, you know, these wide commie footpaths, sidewalks, there's a lot of room. Now I'm aware that I'm going to compete a little bit with the traffic, so I'll speak a little bit louder. Good thing about having a deep booming voice like I do, I can just turn up the volume myself and there's no problem. So this is the start of Nemiga Street here. This is where a lot of restaurants are. Down that way to Galeria Minsk, popular shopping centre. And this is Nemiga Street itself right here. As you see, KFC with Fabrik above. Fabrik's a very popular restaurant. It's known for, you know, kind of like a quality but at a reasonable price. And that's kind of what you get in Minsk. You don't really get crazy high priced things. I mean, nothing's cheap either, by the way, but nothing's really super expensive, where it's like, what? My friends were just saying 3 of them went to a Japanese restaurant in Melbourne and they paid around $1,200 for sushi. Could you imagine? I was on a corporate card and it was like wine dining stuff, but it's like this kind of just throwaway amount. Of course, it's not the normal price. If you're a Belarusian listening, it's not the normal price for sushi, but to be honest, probably sushi is quite expensive in Belarus compared to most countries. Certainly it's very cheap in Australia. But sushi is a bit of a, seen as a kind of a cool thing here in Belarus. So it's kind of at the pricier end of just normal foods. Which is surprising to me because I don't rate sushi at all. I think it's just pathetic food. I think it's just rice with a little bit of something with it, right? Like to me, rice is just empty carbs. Like especially white rice. Like what do you want to eat that crap for? But nonetheless, it's popular here, and it's popular in a lot of places in the world at the moment. So it's just my personal snobbery. Actually, I had some. My mate had some. I was in, it was like Grodno, and my mate had some fried sushi. And I had a bit of it. It was quite nice actually. The taste of the fried seaweed was actually quite tasty, rather than just that dour kind of rice with a little bit of cream in there, mayonnaise, whatever, with some salmon. Yeah, wasabi can be fun. A little bit of that. What do they do to the ginger? Can be fun, but you know, there's only so much fun you can have in this place. So we might get. We actually don't have a restaurant picked out tonight yet, but a couple of Georgian places here, a couple of Italian places. We might go to one of those. See what we feel like. We're democratic. We're going to vote. Where should we eat? And I'm feeling something dirty. I'm feeling a pizza, to be honest. Trying to fatten up a little bit at the moment. I've gotten too skinny here in Belarus with all the walking, and I'm going to go to India soon. and I want to get up my fat reserves to make sure when I get sick I don't get too skinny. So I don't mind having a few greasy meals, some nice Georgian calorie dense meals. Yes please. Nice oily pizza. But of course when you go out here, like in restaurants, the servings are always very small. You have a home meal and you eat a lot, right? But if you go to a restaurant, they're always small quantities, 250 grams, 300 grams, something like this. So I'll do a quick burn around here and just show you. As I say, look, it's gonna be quiet because of the time of year, but this is the spot that's usually really pumping. Usually this place here would have an outdoor setting here. Not a fan of this one. This is not very good quality Georgian. Ironically, the chain in Kalia next door is actually better. So this one here, there is better than this one, in my opinion. It's also half the price. But this one's cool because it's got the outdoor, everything's outdoor here during the summer. But of course, this time of year, not. So of course there's music playing right now. When there's music playing, it means they don't play ads on the video, which is a problem. So I'm probably gonna have to delete some of this. You might not hear these magical words. A couple of Italian restaurants. It's quite sad actually to walk around. Usually this is buzzy this time of night. This whole bit here would be filled with chairs and tables, and around the corner too would be pumping. But now they can barely fill the inside. Around the left here as well. All this is just tables and chairs. There's barely anyone inside at all. It's crazy. The economy only works for 4 months of the year. It's so funny for me to see such. Even in Melbourne, of course, things get quieter when it's cold, but not this much quiet. So this would all be just tables and chairs in the summer. There'd be like 50 or so tables and chairs set up here. Still a couple here, but not many. So it's yeah, and you can feel that little bit of chilliness in the air, and people just don't leave the house. A bit of rain as well. You can see the rain on the tables, obviously. Alright, definitely feeling hungry. I'm not sure what I'll get, but anyway. Alright, hope you liked a little bit of a walk around. If you did enjoy it, you like this kind of format at the end of the videos, do click like. Leave me a comment telling me as much. If you're subscribed already, I thank you. If you're not, what's stopping you? Your finger can move over. Even here, this would be all open. They've just covered the chairs. This would be all tables and chairs all the way up here. And full too, full. Whereas now the inside of the restaurants aren't even full, let alone the outside. So anyway, if you're not subscribed and you've watched all this, you probably would want to subscribe because you're going to get a lot more content like this from me. And again, do give me some constructive feedback. I do appreciate it. Acknowledge it and try to implement it if I think it's suitable.